Hey, Kickstarter people, my backers, thank you so much. Um, this is Graffiti Wars 2 graphic novel that you're helping me with. And I thought I would tell you a story about one of the characters. So, um, I have hung out for many, many years on a decommissioned Navy air base in Alameda. And one day, then that's how this story evolved. I'd go out there, drive around, and literally this story would download into me. And I'll do a picture while we're here. And so one day I'm out there driving, and I drive past the vodka distillery, and an internal voice said, "Go on in." And I said back to myself, "But I don't drink." And at that moment, I looked into the parking lot and I saw a man walking. And so I kept driving and I went out to the end of the base where I hang out by the water. It's an amazing place. That's out there where we set the Guinness World Record, two world records for chalk drawings. So I'm driving back and I was just like meandering, exploring like I do. And I came across the parking lot of the vodka distillery. And I thought, oh, I guess I'll go in. And so I get out, and this man is walking towards me, the same man that I saw walking earlier. And I recognized him from a coffee shop, and his name is Bernie or was Bernie. I'm not sure, this was I don't know, 20 years ago. And I knew enough to say hello to him, and he shook my hand with his left hand, with his right hand, with his in a way where he had it turned down a little bit, and where a way that I felt that he had had a stroke since I'd seen him before. I didn't know him well, um, but that then has become part of this story. So as we're hanging out, I'm talking about chalk drawings and world record, and he said, "Oh, I have a bicycle shop." Um, right here in one of the big warehouses. And so I said, well, show me. And so we walk over, and then as our way over, we saw this car being trailered in. And from a far away, he said, that's a 1953 or 4 Corvette. Like he knew it. And we walked over, and this father and son team, it was the dad's car. He'd given it to the son. It has the original tires on it. They're bald. And they had just put a new engine in it. So they were reworking it. And then here's beside it is this boat that's, they put it right beside it. And both of these are in the story where Bernie is the um, Vietnam vet who is struggling with PTSD. And in the story, he's half. When we first meet him, he's half present, and he's got a computer, maybe even bike tech shop on the base that the other character Hiro goes and visits. So I just really love how all this stuff just comes together. There's a scene in the third book where Bernie, because he's experiencing PTSDs, he's actually half some other place. And we realize in the second book that he's actually one of the time travelers. And then in the third book, we actually realize that he's actually stuck in the psych hospital along with the other character, Hiro, and we don't recognize that until later. So, here's pictures. references. There's the new engine. So then over time there, so here I was at, St. George's Spirit, right? Spirits, spirits. There's my old dog Xander. Cranes, they're prominent in this story. So then over time I met this guy. Um, so he's really the Bernie character in the book. And this guy's name is Troy. And Troy is a homeless man. I haven't seen him in years. I'm not sure if he's alive. And I met Troy. He was one of the guys who's standing in the middle of the street asking for money. And I connect with people and I give money. And I somehow we were talking, and he said something that just caught my attention. He said, like, "Oh, you're like into mythology or something, something." And so over time, we became friends. And at one point, he said, "What are you working on now?" And I told him about the story, and he said, "That sounds like 12 Monkeys." And I said, "How do you know about 12 Monkeys?" The movie. And he has a fascinating, interesting story. He was a high school, college basketball star. Um, he got cancer and came out of it, and he got a lot of prestige through that. He married a really high-ranking basketball player. They came out to the Bay Area. His cancer came back. Their marriage went away, and he became a cocaine addict. And there he was. He lived on a bus stop for 2 years. And the last time I saw him, well, so I bring him down to the studio. I took him to my men's group. I, paid him to come and model for me. And the last time I saw him, he was not doing well. And I said, "Troy," and he's at the bus stop. I said, "Troy, it's like you're waiting for a bus that's never going to come." And he looked at me and he goes, "Right." So he's my Bernie in my story. So I got reference, I got videos from him. And so then then I started doing artwork over time. Look, he's got my drawing on our shirt. I gave him prayer beads that he wore for, ever since I met him. So then I started doing some artwork over time of him, and I'm still doing more. And so, I put him into drawings, and I've done both loose drawings and more realistic, but something like this just is great. And it's perfect for what I'm doing. I'm just doing pencil and white pencil on brown paper and blending it, something more realistic. So this is in the first book. So I've, you know there's text in here, and in the first book, he knows the dog, and he's been around. He knows some of the Matrix stuff, and here he's at his shop, and Hiro's talking to him. Um, and then also this is the first book where he gets kind of just lost in the Vietnam pages. So this is a Photoshop piece with lots of layers, and then the text would run over here. Um, he just every once in a while checks out, right? He's in another place. And so then in book two, this is in book two, the other character, her name is Birde, and she becomes a time traveler because she gets caught up in a nuclear explosion and magic, and she ends up on this deserted ocean, wet, infinite landscape, which most of book two, half of book two takes place on a nowhere land. And so as she's there, standing there going like, "What the fuck?" This helicopter flies over that's just covered with graffiti, and Bernie gets out. he says, "So you made it, kiddo. I thought you might." And I might leave it like this, or I might do more drawing over top of it. It depends. I don't necessarily want it to be too much of him directly as a person, but more of artwork. So we'll see what I want to do with that. And so then he and Birdie have their first conversation. You know, he, Bernie, listen, in the beginning, it's just pretty darn confusing. So don't even try to figure it out. You will in time. Huh, time, that's funny, right? Because they're both time travelers now. He's been one and she just became one. He reaches out to shake her hand. My name's Bernie. He gestures at a large tarp shape. Please, come, please be my guest. He nods towards the wind blowing tarps and walks away. So all of this gets slowly rewritten, but it's like just putting it in and placing it and seeing how it looks. So then he this is so he's still talking to her, or this is later on, I think. Um, this is later on too. So these are placeholders where I'll actually do a little bit more of a drawing of the two of them. And then this is placeholder too, right? You can see that it's a stock image. And but I like the essence of the two, right? They're sitting there talking outside. And then this is Bernie's, it's an ocean tug, but this is kind of his time traveler. It's here forever. And this is a real photograph of a ship that I took photographs of out on the base, um, which is part of how the whole story got made. So there's my story of one of the characters. There's one of the pages. Um, and thank you. So stay tuned and we're working on it together. Big love and art.